So here we are together for Fratelli Tutti in light of the life of the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur as we journey together for this time. So here you are in 5 different continents, and as we know, there's so much going on that you really are involved in really the grassroots, but also the reflective process, and then in university work, also TV work, many things contribute to your life as your sisters. So the map of poverty, and you begin to see where you're located. Some of the areas, certainly in Africa, really are struggling with the areas of poverty. You know, we're looking at Afghanistan. We're now looking at some areas in terms of what's happening in Ukraine. So you can see by this map, you know, where we need to be influenced and in the challenges that we're faced. And certainly, you know of these. And the levels of education or lack of education. So the highly greener part, you know, their high level of education, kind of the middle area with these colors are still struggling. And then with the darker colors, you know, they have really some difficulties in terms of levels of education. So these are the areas where you find yourself both challenged by those who have opportunities to develop their capabilities, and then other places where you're trying to give them a new way of life. And as you can see there, but the map of conflicts that are taking place, many of them relate to the areas of poverty that we shared, relating to, certainly with the mining areas. And then, you know, in terms of the educational levels, certainly suffer when there are conflicts happening. So just give you a sense of where you find yourself as a community around the globe. And this what you're trying to do in order to be a light of goodness, as you like to see, kind of a way of describing your charism, is coming forth in the gospel message with a life of goodness, you know, really taking care of some of the negative consequences as you look at and respond to the grace of transformation of the attitudes, the structures and systems that cause profound suffering. And you find yourselves really trying to be on the front lines, really providing and being attentive to that message. So Pope Francis draws much information from St. Francis and sickle cell, which is the dicastery that really kind of has a responsibility to deal with us as religious, issued a statement back in 2021, shortly after the document on Fratelli Tutti was released, and following on what was happening here with Laudato Si. And so we're called to broaden our perspective and to be architects of universal brotherhood, custodians of our common home of the earth and every creature. So we see a connection then between what Laudato Si was saying in terms of responsibility for the ecology, which is both human and nature, dealing with the economy and dealing with culture, and then finding a way to say, okay, as religious, let's look at our charisms, really strengthen ourselves. That's what we have. That's our gift. And then from this charism, we transition to goals. There are 7 goals related to the ecology that Laudato Si is asking us to really make a part of our lives. And we journey through this process by networking. And in this networking, then, we bring the connections that we've had from our charisms. These are what energize our mission. And when we look at our ministry service, our charism helps us to requalify. What is it that is ours to do? What is our responsibility? And how do we contribute to this energy, this movement, this integral ecology that enlivens us as religious, as opportunity for us as religious to contribute what needs to be done? Again, doing these things together as we're being called to do. And what are we trying to do in this movement? Well, we have what we call a tipping point. And this seems to be scientifically determined. But again, from Laudato Si, we're urged, we have a need for us to move forward in a bold cultural revolution. So already we see kind of an urgency here being addressed and asking us to really respond. Well, it took 3.5% of the German people, it says, to really bring down the Berlin Wall. But if we want systemic change, then we have to look at 21 to 25% of this to take place. And so this is an effort of growing together, of networking for the change, as you speak often about the systemic change that needs to take place for us to make a difference. And it's about, again, in this process of really looking at the grace moments to do this, as your dear sister, St. Julie, would tell you to be aware of, to really look at the
認
grace.
識しましょうと呼びかけていることで、その私たちの慈しみからは
So you're called, as you
Et vous êtes invités, vous êtes appelés, comme disent vos appels de chapitre.
Declaração do capítulo.
Llama también a vivir la Fratelli Tutti, están llamadas a sembrar
Seeds of hope and unity, of inclusion and belonging, of invitation, welcome, and dialogue, of collaboration for mission. So clearly, as sowers of seeds, as sowers from sowing hope, entering into the ecology, but now moving out then as collaborators for this mission to really say, we are without borders. So following up then from this letter from Sickle Cell, and then moving now into the connection with Fratelli Tutti, you're about bringing a rebirth in everyone, a rebirth in a universal aspiration to fraternity, to dream together, so that in the face of present day attempts to eliminate or to ignore others, we may prove capable of responding with a new vision of fraternity and social friendship. So again, we're called, and you certainly are leaders in this, of working together, of being conscious of our relationships. And you mentioned, again, we're working and reaching out to different peoples, to different generations, really starting with your own vocational community. And that's part of why you're meeting together, to talk about Fratelli Tutti and how this can be more and more embedded in the way that you live your life as sisters together in community. So again, we really want to say it's about doing this together and about creating a new way of being in the world in which we live. So we speak of dark clouds over a closed world, so we're entering into ways that we want to open that up, for us in our lives and making a difference in terms of what we need to see done. So because of our awareness, as you say in your directory, that unjust structures deny people their dignity, we study the relatedness of global issues. We also join others in an effort to build peace and to search for an end to social evils, particularly war and the preparation for war, world poverty, racism, and discrimination against women in this whole effort. So in Fratelli Tutti, following up on your concern for women, we find these words. Women possess the same dignity and identical rights as men. Doubly poor are those women who endure situations of exclusion, mistreatment, and violence, since they are frequently less able to defend their rights. And of course, you know this, and your sisters are very there, well, at the grassroots, trying to deal with the issues, the situations of the women, and helping them have better lives. Education in this whole process is really integral to your life. And so in that process, you encounter the temptation to build a wall, a culture of walls, to raise walls, walls in the heart, walls on the land, in order to prevent this culture with other cultures, with other people. They are left without horizons, for they lack this interchange with others. And so the challenge then with the educational process is permeating those walls, trying to find a way to break them down by giving them other alternatives, other possibilities for their way of life. So you're moving through this closed world, this dark clouds, and trying to offer through many of your educational opportunities a better life, a life full of a positive future. So in this journey of moving through these dark clouds and making a new road, you meet a stranger on the road, as we look like in Fratelli Tutti. So through the needs of our world, God summons us as an ecclesial community to proclaim Jesus Christ and to participate in his liberating mission. So you have this willingness to encounter the stranger, wherever that person is, whoever they are in front of you, and you seek out really those who are lost and forsaken. So we have in this section all about the Good Samaritan. So Jesus' parable on the Good Samaritan summons us to rediscover our vocations as citizens of our respective nations and of the entire world. So we're builders of a new social bond. So you stay involved with those needing help. And this whole way of reflecting on entering into the story and taking different characters' parts is very Jesuit. You know, the whole situation becomes a part of their reflective spirituality. It's a way of being in the lives of each of the characters. And so Pope Francis is calling us to do the same. So with the story of the Good Samaritan, Jesus is asked to respond to, well, who is my brother and who is my sister? And so he gives examples of two religious, and what we find out that it's not just enough for us to pray. We need to also be involved in our world, in the different cultures, in their conflicts. We need to be with those who are in need. And then when we have the robbers there, and then sometimes we have an ability to kind of collude with that, particularly if we are indifferent or we're apathetic. And so we don't do anything, maybe because we're overwhelmed. So we can be part of helping those robbers get away with what they've done. And then we have the innkeeper who welcomed in the Good Samaritan and the victim. And we look at now the Good Samaritan, who happened to be one that would have been labeled not as a good person, but who finds somebody on the road, decides to put aside whatever he was doing and to minister to that victim on the road. And then we have the victim, the person who is in need, even our own fragilities. Is there a way that we can enter into this story to find how we would be even in each of those circumstances? So it's a wonderful way of questioning ourselves, because Pope Francis asks a number of questions there for us to face and to move forward with. So the question then, who is my neighbor, ends up being, I am to be neighbor to others. So Jesus has a wonderful way of turning questions around and answering them in a way that really brings us forward. So that's what we're about, being citizens of our world to make a difference here. We have a new social bond. And we're to be co-responsible in creating this new bond, putting into place new processes and changes. You can see resonance with what I had spoken a little bit earlier about in terms of your constitutions. So you're being reinforced, you're being encouraged now to really look at some of the changes that need to be made because of the way that you've been studying, so much of the church's teaching and certainly the Catholic social teachings and encyclicals that come from our Holy Father. So as we move and envision and engender an opening world, because as we're moving, we begin to see the clouds moving away and we begin to see some plants being growing in new life. So you have the call to acknowledge then and celebrate good. Strive for good over evil, greed, injustice, and turmoil, and choose to be an affirming presence of goodness. So that's how you envision this world, celebrating the good and engendering then these qualities of goodness to counteract so much that is negative. So this is where you are on your journey as you see yourselves being active members of making a difference in the world. So you work then in education with families. These are certainly a very important part of how we can really embrace the strong fundamental areas that really provide growth in our lives. So the challenge of education is really one of basically reaching out to those families in need. Primary support, learning to really help families deal with their many challenges. So as Fratelli Tutti says, families are called to a primary and vital mission of education. So we have values of love and fraternity, togetherness and sharing, concern and care for others are lived out and handed on by transmitting the faith. So we're helping families, really encouraging them how to be messengers of the faith. And it's in very many social gatherings that you would have. They could be fun, they could be serious. There's ways of relating, and we certainly are challenged about that in today's world of how can we really have really very fine and wholesome conversations. So in Fratelli Tutti, we see that as a community, wherever we are as a community, we have an obligation to ensure that every person lives with dignity and has sufficient opportunities for his or her integral development. So we can always say that integral human development has a lot to do with peace. If you want peace, then we look at the development of our peoples. You're sensitive to the various challenges and the ways that they're presented, in the livelihoods of all the people, whether it's, in a joyful undertaking, whether it's on the one-on-one relating to a person in need, dealing with other religions, dealing with poor poverty areas and helping raise their dignity, or looking at total communities. And these are all situations where you find yourself with your sisters reaching out to the world in a way of envisioning and engendering a world that is open to goodness and to growth. So Pope Francis goes as far as to say that we're in social friendship and universal fraternity. And it calls us to acknowledge the worth of every human person, always and everywhere. So we're building on with the previous slide that it's about friendship. It's about a way of caring and enlivening the world of others. In the encyclical by St. Pope John the 23rd, Pacem in Terris, he says that really underlying all of this is the idea of accepting the basic worth of the human person, trusting in that goodness and bringing it forth. So that's important for us to remember in our lives. So we are encountering all kinds of people. So if we want to encounter and help one another, we're challenged with dialogue, the quality conversations. And we're so challenged with this because of the technical devices that we have. You know, they can distract us. You know, we're making short words. We can be distancing even the person next to us. We're not
隣にい
talking
る人でさえお互いに話をし
texting somebody else, or we talk only in the texting. So the phrases, it's very difficult sometimes to have the face-to-face sharing. So when Pope Francis calls us to dialogue, which you are engaged in dialogue with your ministries, this we find is a deeper challenge even as the days go on. So encountering one another and engaging in conversations that have substance and are meaningful. So you have a heart then open to the whole world. So we keep developing our journey, and as we are moving, we find ourselves in new places. So we have a heart now open to the whole world. We've met many challenges. And so in your constitution, you're gratefully aware of the goodness of God's creation. We reverence the
de la
resources.
création de Dieu. Vous savez que nous sommes reconnaissants de la bonté de la création de Dieu. Nous révérons les ressources de la terre. Nous voulons que ces ressources soient au service de tous les peuples. Donc, vous avez vraiment à révérer la création et à défendre les droits humains et le droit de la nature. C'est un sens de bien-être, c'est un sentiment qui permet une guérison ici et c'est quelque chose d'extrêmement important. Nous devons avoir un cœur ouvert. Nous devons respecter le monde entier, respecter également la place que vous occupez dans le monde. Et ça, c'est pour tout le monde. Vous devez ensemble partager le même cheminement. Donc, dans ce voyage synodal, vous avez ici une photo de la Piazza del Popolo, la place du peuple, lorsqu'il y a eu une manifestation contre George Floyd. C'était un Noir qui a été tué par un policier aux États-Unis. Il y a eu vraiment des personnes qui protestaient contre les mauvais traitements. C'était la raison de ce rassemblement. Mais je ne peux pas m'empêcher non plus de faire une référence à Fratelli Tutti. Et dans Laudato Si, vous avez cette citation qui correspond tout à fait à ce que disent nos constitutions. Je cite, « En tant que chrétiens, nous sommes aussi appelés à accepter le monde comme sacrement de communion, comme partage avec Dieu et notre voisin à l'échelon mondial. » Donc, voilà exactement ce à quoi je fais référence, c'est-à-dire d'intégrer l'action à la contemplation. Comme l'a dit Julie dans votre communauté, il s'agit toujours de parcourir ce chemin. Et comme le pape François continue à développer son raisonnement, cela est en écho avec Fratelli Tutti, c'est-à-dire que nous évoluons dans un monde où nous avons à partager et à rappeler ce que signifie Dieu pour nous, à transformer la grâce en esprit. Donc, pour ce qui est des rencontres, eh bien, il y a l'esprit d'ouverture, la grâce, le sérieux, l'apprentissage. toutes ces façons nous permettent de rencontrer Dieu dans notre vie. Et je pense que cela est très important pour l'échange entre nous. Donc, vous devez vous imposer une nouvelle façon de raisonner. Il faut comprendre quelle est votre démarche et votre plaidoyer tourne autour de Dieu à tous les niveaux, niveau local, national et international. Voilà donc l'enjeu qui émane de votre document, du document. Nous étudions les relations sur notre lieu de travail. Nous étudions également les institutions, les investissements des entreprises, les systèmes des prédominants pour veiller à ne pas renforcer des systèmes économiques injustes et à ne pas défendre notre mode de vie au
So certainly transforming structures and
que
systems
transformar as estruturas e os
found
económicos injustos y sostengamos nuestra forma de vivir a costas de los demás. Entonces, no debemos reforzar esto y lo hemos visto durante la sesión sobre las Amazonía y luego hubo una parte que se dedicó en
分断しました。経済的な不公平ということになりました。このシスターは皆さんの会のシスターだけではなくて、世界の中のメンバーです。彼女は苦しみ、そして痛みの中に入っていて、そして政治の問題にも関わっていかれました。で、これは毎日の生活がその将来につながるというメッセージであります。皆さんの教育に対する注力、そして教育、そして他の人への思いやり、そして性的な成長、そして全国的な生活っていうのが全て重要であります。そして不正義、そして虐待、経済的な技術的な政治的なメディアパワーのこういう不正義に対する、これに対応する活動をやっていかなければいけません。政府の政治的なところも人々の毎日の生活の中でどのようにそれを皆さんの人生の質を上げていくかということに対しても戦っていかなければいけません。そして私たちは社会の中での対話と友情を考えていきます。私たち問題を見て、そして他の人たちと協力をして、不正義のシステムを変えていきます。そして皆さんが新しいやり方で神の良さを十分に経験するために皆さん新しい方法を考えていきます。なので、ここでの課題というのは皆さんの中に中心のところからどのように参加をしていくか、そしてクリエイティブに新しい方法を考えていきます。そして皆さんが強調しておられるのは、その積極的な、小説的な皆さんの生活のあり方の強調しておられます。そしてここで平和に対する出会いで、教皇フランシスがおっしゃっているのは、新しいメッセージとしてこれを出しております。出会いということが非常に重要です。そしてお互いに協力をしましょう。
dialogue with each other.
必要として困っている人。
Et la rencontre devient la culture.
Nosso modo de ser aponta para algo profundamente incorporado.
Algo que debe estar profundamente encarnado en un pueblo, en sus convicciones más valiosas y su modo de vida. Aquí, al representar la comisión de la ISCN, Ucrania me quedó realmente impactada por el amor y el cuidado que vi por los demás. En un mundo donde nos preguntamos, ¿dónde está Dios? Pues lo vi allí sobre cómo los cuidaban y cómo se valora la vida después de haber sido despreciada y desmoralizada de una forma tan destructiva. Entonces, cuando el Papa nos habla de salir al encuentro con que se transforma en cultura, a menudo se da el ejemplo de los pueblos indígenas. Entonces se trata de un espíritu de amabilidad que requiere estima y respeto por los demás. Una amabilidad que se transforma en una cultura dentro de la sociedad y que logra transformar los estilos de vida, las relaciones y la forma de discutir las ideas. Hablamos de la amabilidad, del cuidado, de la atención. Esto es nuestra responsabilidad frente a los demás y por cuidar de la naturaleza también. Y aquí ven en la Fratelli Tutti que se habla de que se necesitan nuevas vías, la oportunidad de la educación para configurar el futuro. Entonces, esto tiene que ver con el diálogo amistoso en la sociedad que ustedes mismas ayudan a fomentar. Entonces, toda la misión evangelizadora claramente es una misión de educación. Todo tipo de educación, la catequesis, la educación formal, el nivel universitario, secundario, el trabajo sanitario, pastoral y el desarrollo de comunidades. Trabajos que tal vez ustedes no consideren importantes, pero el Papa nos dice
È importante.
直接的に明確に社会的に意味を
the fraternal dimension and of spirituality and to dealing with conflicts in our lives, to have the connection that all of us are together, the dignity of the person, and our reason for loving and accepting our brothers and sisters. So, really, you are there for that challenge. That is your mission. That's your gospel way of carrying forth a way of being in our world today. So you see, as paths of renewed encounter on this journey, that your spirituality is apostolic in the tradition of your dear Saint Julie, whose unique experience of prayer and action enabled her to find God's presence everywhere and in a special way among the poor. And certainly that is very clear for you in the way that you live and talk about your life. So there's a need for peacemakers to work boldly and creatively to initiate processes of healing and renewed encounter. So even though the word peace was not found in your Chatspur statement, you speak about it in 3 areas, particularly in your constitutions. When you talk about celibacy, you talk about promoting a kingdom of justice, peace, and love, and in being awareness in your directory. Because of this awareness of what you know is happening in the world, you want to build peace. And another one of your directory, in 5, you say you're educating for justice and peace. So certainly that's an embodiment of how you see your educational ministry. So the advocacy then is of the work of the Holy Spirit in truth. You're watching and you're trying to be a part of that movement. See, the word advocate can be a way of describing the Holy Spirit working through us and moving us to give voice in support and defense of human rights, seeing what needs to be done, reflecting upon that, using your Catholic social teachings, your constitutions, our scriptures, to find a way of acting that is embodied of that kind of a spirit to really make a difference, in our world. So you move along in that kind of a spirit to embrace inequality and lack of integral human development, to make peace possible. So you're carrying that forward, beginning anew, and you're doing it from the least. That has been certainly a very important hallmark for you to bring forward in our world. And we realize that memory is very much an important part of how we live our lives. And we can never move forward without remembering the past. We do not progress without an honest and unclouded memory. And really dealing with reconciliation in our own lives. The museums hold this kind of memory for us. It's important to look at the traditions that we have in our lives and really gain wisdom from the experience that we have encountered along our journey. So we find that religion then, on our journey through Fratelli Tutti, through this way of being together, how is religion then at service of fraternity in the world? So we welcome and promote cultural diversity as a reflection of the many faceted revelations of God. As an international congregation, we try to develop a world perspective. And you had one of your sisters who was quite popular for a while that talked about a lot of the art in the world. And one of the ones I looked at recently, because certainly these were many years past, about the whole Muslim culture and Hebraic culture. So it was a way of raising up in the art, a way of seeing how religion can be at the service of fraternity, particularly when we know and understand what each other is trying to describe or what we know is valuable to them. So that religion then being at service of fraternity in the world, and you carry that forward as well. So you're building bridges and reconciling many, many conflicts and differences with many of your creative initiatives. As Pope Francis says, and you are really responding, you want to be a church that serves, to build bridges, to break down walls, to sow seeds of reconciliation and hope. And for you, as Pope Francis says, for us, the wellspring of human dignity and fraternity is the gospel of Jesus Christ. And you say that also very clearly. The primary rule of your life is the gospel. So each one of us then are called to be artisans of peace, by uniting and not dividing, by extinguishing hatred and not holding on to it, by opening paths of dialogue and constructing new walls. You are really trying to do that in many ways. So as religious, Pope Francis is calling us to be prophets of hope. Religious life is full of opportunities, enthusiasm, and passion. And you bring with your gift the gift of goodness, in a way, a response to Micah 6:8, when the prophet said, "What is it that I must do to live a good life?" And he was told to live justly, to love tenderly, and walk humbly with God. You live justly in poverty, you love tenderly in chastity, and you walk humbly with God in your obedience. So you are carrying on this enthusiasm, this being a prophet of hope. And I thank you. I put you there on the sunflower. You've had many sunflowers on your chapter statement. And so I would like to say thank you for the work that you're doing for the church and for one another, and for accepting the challenges, the many challenges that need to be faced in our world today. So thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Sister Sheila. So much of what you've presented to us is integral to our own lives together. And
Yeah, it is.
And we appreciate the time that you must have taken to look through our documents, and our history to be part of the presentation today. We thank you so much. I think maybe we give the interpreters a minute to relax.
1 minute.
I'm going to put together at least one of we have one question so far. And I'll say it for you and you can give it some thought for a minute. The question has to do with how can we help each other to be happy and to be fulfilled together despite so many of the difficulties that each other faces in our various ministries, in our various countries, in our various churches. So how can we help each other to be happy and fulfilled? And we'll take a minute to just give you a chance to think about that.
Well, I think one thing is that being the relationship. Let me just say this. I might answer it in a different way. Jesus does that, so I'm going to do it too. One of the things is fall in love. Pedro, I didn't find a way to put it in the session, so now I'm going to say it. Pedro Arrupe. So many of you may know the Jesuit that was during the time of the Vatican, Council and all of that. And he wrote something that I have continued to think about so often. It's fall in love. Fall in love with God and stay in love with God, because that will determine everything. It will determine how you get up in the morning, who you spend your time with, what you read, what you do. This is a decision. And the newness, it's about being in a loving
Realiza as coisas, significa permanecer nesta relação de
day, you renew.
Y que ustedes se
And those of us involved in social justice every day, in fact, every hour sometimes, we're in something new. And so the relationship that I had with Jesus yesterday is not the one I have today. And it's a deliberate choice on my part to fall in love and to stay in love. And that will determine everything. So I think some of our conversations, our enthusiasm, are called to be more sharing about what really matters with us and what is enlivening with us, and having that openness, having that receptivity, and that freedom. And the other thing is, with our love relationship, I myself don't feel that I have a relationship with someone that'll last unless I can have fun with that person, whatever that is, walking or talk, just something like that. And I have to say, when I was visiting many of the poor areas, they are the fun people. They found anything to have fun. And so I would just encourage you to reflect on what is this love relationship that you have with God and as your community has. Because God, it's not a matter of I give this person this much love, it's taken away from somebody else. God can give it all. Nobody is without. We just have to be open to it. So that's what I would say, in terms of a positive and positive. It's just keep to that and think about, take time to think about, and I would say share this. What is your experience? Think of a time when you've experienced God in your life and what that meant. And I would think that as a religious, to make a commitment to God, there had to be one, and the one to reflect on. So I would encourage you to do that and to be really receptive, because some of these stories are, could be quite comical, actually, as well as very deep and suffering, but they would be substantive. I hope that's answered. I gave some light anyway to the joy that, you're part of, God's asked you to help. God's asked you to be of service with God, the God self.
Thank you, Sister Sheila, so much for that. And that question actually came from Lucy Kima in Congo. So
Okay, okay. What did Lucy think of that answer? Lucy, it's now your turn.
I don't know if, I don't think we can do it. We can't do that with
Yeah, in
the,
the chat, she can't put it in the chat. Okay, all right.
I don't see any other questions in the chat. Is there anyone here at the meeting who would like to have a comment or a question? Obey, go ahead.
Thank you, sister, for the presentation. I'm curious, when you showed the level of education
Mhm,
countries,
mhm.
I was just curious, what are the indicators used?
That would be a good question to see whether it has to do with literacy. Probably that's the only basic thing, because even with those countries, let me just say that, even though I see it some of the darker ones, having levels of education, I'm not sure that the education in the way that we want it to happen is actually taking place. You know, in terms of critical thinking, ability to make decisions on your way of being. I know the UN has put the the element, the up to grade 8. So, in terms of having access to education is more the criteria there, the access to education. But no, we're not talking about major tests. No.
We'll all be
But
happy
I was
to
just
know.
curious, for the way that you talk about education, I think is fascinating, really. Yeah. Okay.
We just got an answer back from Sister Lucy in Congo, and she says, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, then
Okay.
we'll turn it back over to Sister Amarachi for the conclusion then.
And I will say, Sister Sheila, you have given us so much to think about. While you were speaking, I just noted down some words that I thought are very, I think, significant to me and as relate to the topic. We are in it together. We heard a lot about that during the pandemic. Togetherness, global citizenship, sharing, concern, community, life of dignity, social friendship, dialogue, encounter, reverence, respect, work together, collaboration, relationship. We in a world today that I think Fratelli Tutti is so needed, so relevant when we just sit for a moment, just listen to the news for a few minutes today. We could say, we need to hear this, everybody, not just Catholics, and practice it. But not everybody is fortunate enough to sit here and listen as we are. So we become the messengers. Thank you for inspiring us. Just a little spark from here can set the world ablaze with
That's right.
global citizenship. And our life itself is a witness to a very divided, polarized world. When we sit together here, we have, this is Fratelli Tutti in practice. Here we are practicing solidarity. So
Right.
thank you, Sister Sheila. Thank you for the work you do in Laudato Si, social justice at JPIC Roma.
Thank you.
And thank you for challenging us. And we hope to hear from you again.
You probably will. Thank you. Thank you so much, sister, and for that kind of summary. I appreciate that. And God bless you on your journey. Thank you. So,
We'd like to open up we have sisters from different parts of the world listening that have joined us in this. So at the end of, we'd like to open up the cyberspace and let them in. So we have a bit of the taste of the room and see who is here and hear their voices.
So am I going?
It's not working. Okay, do I have to accept and they may not be aware? And they cannot hear? Can they hear me? Yes. Okay, sisters, if you see any invitation on your screen, just accept the invitation to join. She can see us. Click on the invitation to join. Yeah, 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 yeah. They can see us. I wonder if they can see us. We see them.
We can see you all.
Hola, Denise. Hola, Denise.
Everybody wave. Turn your picture on.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Wow.
Tu peux. C'est pas ici. Quelqu'un veut parler?
On vous écoute à Namur, maison mère.
Mary Rose.
What is Mary Rose?
Elles l'ont entendu, hein? Oui, elles ont cru que c'était moi. Comme c'est mon nom qui a mis.
C'est ton nom qui est mis sur l'ordinateur.
Oui.
Un grand merci.
Hola, Liane.
Un grand merci.
That's Lucy. That's Lucy.
Sœur Célestine du Congo, qui est à Namur, remercie.
Marie-Rose.
Oui.
Hi, Angel. Hi, Denise. Hi, Liz. Hi, Eileen. Eileen.
Lise Ternal.
Hi, Leanne.
Hi, Denise.
Hola,
Lilian.
Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Judith Merkel.
Hi.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Great to see everyone.
Howdy to everyone. I don't see myself though as a viewer of camera. No camera, but anyway, hello everybody.
Bonjour, je n'arrive pas à brancher ma caméra, mais je vous dis bonjour.
Si ma caméra ne marche pas, bonjour à tout le monde. Merci.
Get over here. Face over here, over here. Yeah. See the camera's on. But what I'm saying, are they all talking?
Joanne.
Yeah, they just put us on to do that.
Oh, so but we're not talking to them though. Look at Mary Cooperfield.
We're panelists right now. I don't know how that works.
Oh, there was
We
a
have
thing
become
that said
panelists.
panelists.
There was another that said attendee or something, but I didn't know how to get, and now we don't see them anymore. Are they gone now?
They're up in the corner, Jenny, and we can hear your conversation.
Now we can see you, Jerry Bolzan.
Of course.
Yeah, hi Judy. How you doing?
Oh, yeah.
And everybody else, howdy.
Wonderful
We're
to
here in
see you,
Kenya.
Jerry.
There's a lot of.
Oh, Marianne, yes, hi.
Hi, Jerry.
Marianne, you got to turn on your camera,
I
honey.
recognize the voice. I don't see the face, but I recognize the voice.
What do I have to do, Judy?
Hit video. Start video.
Hey there, Meg.
There's a place at the bottom where it says start video.
She's there. She's right here at this table.
She belong.
Oh, Behi is in Nigeria.
But is she on the team?
I don't think so. I think she just.
I don't know what she's doing.
I don't know.
There's a little small.
And everyone.
Oh, Meg.
Remember, you're not.
There I am.
Greetings, sisters.
Bienvenida.
Hola.
Hola, hermanos. Welcome.
Bienvenido.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Praxedis.
Ah, there you go, Marianne.
I catch on eventually.
Oh, you do, always.
Bom dia. Bom dia.
This is a great echo of the chapter call. I found this presentation echoed the chapter call.
Yes.
I have Maxie with me. Come in, Maxie.
Hi. Oh, Max. Hi, Max.
Yeah, there she is.
Hi.
Hi, sisters.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Can you?
Are there more people who don't fit? There must be some more.
Ann Hodgson.
You're going down.
Okay, let's see. Now I see some more people.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Ann. Hi, Denise.
Hello.
Everyone.
Phyllis.
Okay.
Scylla.
Oh, yes. Hi.
Nigeria.
Oh, there's Liz.
Marty Rose.
Joan Mary Brown, hello.
Buenos hermanos.
Phyllis Cook.
Okay. This is lovely.
Lovely. All right, Priscilla. What a great crowd with you. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Liz.
Hello.
There's Maxie.
Oh, there's Carolyn.
Hello, Phyllis. Wow.
Hello.
There's Mary Carithio.
Hey, Stephanie.
How great.
Hello, sisters.
Oh,
Hello.
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 Hello. Maria Delaney. Hello. Oh. Hi, there's Esther. Adama. How great. Carol Wedley. Hello, Carol. Harry, there's Esther.
Oh, dear.
Wow. How great.
More and more world dimensions here.
Yes. Oh. Oh, wonderful. Judy Belts. Oh.
Howdy, Carol.
Hey, Judy.
Ooh.
Hey.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh, Judy Belts, yeah, I saw.
Here I am.
Judy.
Yeah,
This way.
I
hear your
couldn't
voice,
get my
Judy.
picture to stay.
There you are.
Good morning, Ann Hodgson.
Great. Oh, nice.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Oh, merci beaucoup, ma chère sœur. Oh.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Judy?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm with Maxie. That's why you, oh, now she's here.
Hello, sisters.
Hello.
Across the world.
Also here. Yo, Meg. I might see ya.
Wow.
Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad.
Oh, Maggie.
Joyeux Noël à tout le monde. Joyeux Noël.
So,
Oh,
Sister
Teresa,
Joe,
how
good
you
to see your
doing?
faces.
Teresa Anyabuike.
Yes, Esther.
Betty Schmoyer.
Hi,
Hello.
sisters.
Hello.
Yes, Marie Rose Lepers, your hair is showing, but not your face.
On était 67.
Oh,
I don't see Juliana.
Carolyn Hughes, can you hear me?
yes, I hear you, Judy. How are you?